Okay, so today we're reacting to a video which honestly is probably just more personal to me because this was one of my favorite games growing up. It's about Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, and it's what happened to every character in those games. And you know what I'm saying? I mean, depending on when this video comes out, like this will show you that I don't hate video games, you know what I'm saying? This will show you, like, you know what I'm saying? I still show love to, you know what I'm saying, gaming, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, I've got my own views on it. But let's just get straight into it, you know what I'm saying?
I've made a few videos
and I know
here
there's
on the fates of certain...
Actually, I know there's apparently meant to be a remake that's coming out, I think next year or something like that, but...
companions from Knights of the Old Republic, and they've mainly been shorts. But I wanted to make a full video that encapsulates all of them. And if
you've got any of you guys who've played this game, you know, you already know to leave a like.
Now, this is going to include the characters from both Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2. This is going to talk about everybody. And, of course, the main characters,
I'm actually quite interested,
the Jedi Exile and Revan.
I wish they made a Knights of the Old Republic 3, but...
because it's already pretty well known.
Unlucky.
I'm also going to include Atris. So, let's get
right in. I mean, technically the Old
Republic
is sequel, but...
So, most of us know what happened to Revan, but I'll go over it briefly. He left to go to the unknown regions. He got captured by the Sith and was imprisoned for hundreds of years.
Yeah.
He then got freed from that prison, but he went insane and tried to commit genocide twice. But he was ultimately killed, and his soul got split in half. His light side became one with the Force, but his darkness decided to carry on and inhabited his body so he could kill the Emperor, but he failed. And then he did accept death fully, and he became one with the Force. Now, for what we're here for, the companions,
I mean, it's
let's
all
start
right
with the most important companion of Knights of the Old Republic, Bastila Shan.
Yep.
After the events of KOTOR, Bastila became very disillusioned with the Jedi Order for the way that they treated Revan. They kind of treated him as a heretic because he and Bastila got married, but they also had him publicly as a Jedi Master because of what he did for the galaxy and what he represented to the Jedi. The Jedi were being extremely hypocritical because they were privately treating him like rubbish.
See, this is why I like the story of Star Wars, because it's like low-key, like, here's the thing. If you watch it, you don't like, at least if you watch the prequel and the original trilogy, there's lots of undertones like this that kind of like appear through that, Clone Wars, like that type of stuff. Obviously, sequel trilogy, we're not even going to talk about that, but that's why I do like the storytelling of Star Wars, because it is quite interesting, because it's like, basically what they say is that the two main orders of the series aren't even fully correct, if that makes any sense. But
and Bastila hated them for this and didn't actually engage with the Jedi Order for a long time.
Like, you'd think you follow the Jedi, but the Jedi aren't fully correct.
She eventually fell pregnant, but Revan left to find a hidden threat in the unknown regions that he wanted to stop so he could protect his family, and in secret she programmed T3M4 to actually return to her should anything happen to him, which he was intending to do until the Ebon Hawk got hijacked at the beginning of KOTOR 2, and he found Mitra instead. Now, as we all know, Revan never returned, and sometime after the birth of their son, who she named Vanna in honour of her husband, she was forced to go into hiding when the Sith Triumvirate rose to power and started to systematically kill off the Jedi. When she learned of the Jedi Exile's presence, she still decided to stay hidden for the sake of her son, and of course Mitra brought down the Sith Triumvirate and ended the Dark Wars, and as instructed, T3M4 returned to Bastila.
Wait, I just deep. Wait, Bastila ran away from Nihilus and, what do you call it, Scion, like, bruh, like, pussy. Ain't gonna lie, it's a bit, you know what I'm saying, pussy energy.
And the two of them discussed Revan's fate, thanks to T3M4, who gave them the knowledge. And although she wanted to help rescue Revan from the Sith Empire, she decided to put her son first, and she basically tasked Mitra with going into the unknown regions and saving the day again.
And she got packed.
Gave her the mask of Darth Revan, which she had hidden from him all of these years out of fear that it would return him to his original dark persona. From there on, after the reconstruction of the Jedi Order by the Jedi Exile's companions, Bastila decided to return to the Jedi, and she was anointed as a Jedi Master. At one point during her tenure, she placed her entire thought pattern into a Jedi artifact known as the Noeticon of Secrets, which harboured the memories and thought patterns of many Jedi who had fallen to the dark side but returned to the light, as a guide for any future Jedi who was suffering from the same problem. Unfortunately for Bastila, this version of the Jedi Order wasn't as strict or hypocritical as the original, and even though she was engaged in their affairs, she spent the majority of the rest of her life focused on her family.
I find that quite interesting because obviously in the prequel trilogy, because this was originally canon until Disney came along. But in the prequel trilogy, they eventually always end up becoming hypocritical again. Yeah, I'm talking about the Jedi Order, so you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
Next up is Karth Onasi. After the events of KOTOR, he joined the Republic military and became an admiral in the Republic Navy for his heroism in the war against
I
Darth
don't
Malak.
care about this, brother.
However, with the rise of the Sith Triumvirate some years later, Karth essentially became desperate and he actually
And he
engineered
ran.
the situation in which the Jedi exile would be brought
no,
back
man.
into known space. However, he didn't want to control the Jedi Exile's actions, he simply wanted to bring her back and observe to see what she would do, and of course she went on to battle the Sith, and he led the Republic military in the battle for Telos against Darth Nihilus, which is also essentially him facing his past. After the death of Nihilus, he met with Mitra, desperate for some answers about Revan's fate, which she didn't actually have at this point, and then he asked her to simply send Revan a message, which was that he was following his orders and protecting the Republic. To my knowledge, he continued to serve the Republic Navy, and we know that Tatooine was one of a number of planets where he was.
Bruh, like I swear,
died
Tatooine
and
like,
been
can't
buried.
actually like it doesn't. It
Now,
never
what
disappears. It
happens
never
to
disappears.
Jolee Bindo?
That nigga probably
Jolee
died.
himself did
Old age.
rejoin the Jedi Order to an extent, however not fully. Much like he did originally, Jolee had a desire to pursue his own knowledge, and he essentially went outside of the Jedi's jurisdiction, but would sometimes re-engage with the Order itself. However, several years after the first game, he actually completely disappeared and was never seen again or mentioned in
That's
any
always the
bit of
black guy
media.
that disappears. Never
So
comes
his
back.
fate is completely unknown. However, we
My nigga literally, he was like, "Yo, I'm going to corner shop to grab some milk," and never came back. It's always the black people. Like, why do the black people always just disappear, man?
can assume that he didn't die by the hand of Darth Nihilus because we can find his robes in the game, and the description
you?
is pretty clear in saying that his whereabouts are unknown
Really?
and that he wasn't dead. But that's just my assumption.
Really?
As
I didn't
for
know that.
everybody's favourite cat girl, Juhani, well, we can
Probably
only
dead.
consider that her fate, on the other hand, wasn't particularly positive. After the
probably
game,
dead.
Juhani did fully rejoin the Jedi Order, and she restarted her training as a full Jedi. This was referenced in the Revan novel. But, as KOTOR 2 suggests, almost every single Jedi was killed and hunted down, and unlike Jolee, I can't imagine Juhani being a character that would have gone into hiding after her journey with Revan. So based on this information, my best guess would be that Juhani was unfortunately
Packed
killed
up.
in the Jedi
You know what I'm
Purge,
saying?
along with the rest of them. Now, I'm going to count Zalbar and Mission as one here because their fates intertwine. After the events of KOTOR, the inseparable pair created a business together. This was
business?
an import-export business for goods, and over the next
Okay.
few years, this became relatively successful, and we can only assume that
You know what
the
I'm
two
saying?
lived in
Get your
peace as
money
they were
up,
no
you know what I'm
longer
saying?
directly involved in major galactic affairs that would affect their lives. And Revan even mentions this in the novel, saying that he didn't want to drag them into his journey to find the Sith because
Yeah,
he didn't
bro,
want
they're
to
getting
affect
money,
their
man.
lives any further than he had already done. Canderous Ordo, on the other hand, actually went
Mandalore.
on another adventure with Revan after the events of KOTOR to search for the Mask of Mandalore on the planet Rekiad. It was revealed that Canderous actually had a wife and that many of the Mandalorian clans were on this planet searching for that very mask.
You know, I'm gonna just fully nerd out. Like, actually, no, I'm not. Actually, am I? Yeah. I'm just gonna fully nerd out. Like, literally, Candace, yeah. Like, that brother literally just said, "Ah, cool." Because in the original game, he was always going on about how he wanted to restore the Mandalorians, blah blah blah. So in the next game, literally, they just introduced a character called Mandalore, but you can clearly hear it's Candace's voice, and you can clearly hear that he knew Revan, which is why everyone always came up with the theory that Mandalore is Candace. But I mean, it's pretty much confirmed he's Candace. But you know what I'm saying?
Which Revan hid there after the events of the Mandalorian Wars so they could build the Mandalorians. Unfortunately, though, the Mandalorians wanted
I'm curious if
Canderous
he
to
says that,
betray Revan when they found the mask, to which he refused, and they actually ended up killing Canderous' wife and the Mandalorians that were with her. Revan then gave him the Mask of Mandalore and instructed him to rebuild the Mandalorian clans, but in a way that brought honor to them rather than as a bunch of warlords who conquered and invaded. So, Canderous refit the Mandalorian mask into a suit of armour and became Mandalore the Preserver, and reinstated their power base on Duxon, and began to reunite the clans, and this is who we see in the sequel. After KOTOR 2,
I don't think they ever say in the sequel that that's Candace. I think it's just implied that it's Candace. Which I see. I like storytelling like that. Like they don't say like specifically, oh, my name's actually Kandor. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you just have to kind of pick up the pieces. And he makes it kind of obvious because obviously he's talking about Revan. He's talking about like the adventures he went on with Revan. He's talking about like restoring the Mandalorian clan. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Continue to build the power base of the Mandalorians, and he was instrumental in ensuring that by the time of the Old Republic, the Mandalorian faction was an extremely powerful entity. And we know that Canderous was killed some years after Knights of the Old Republic 2, after he was attacked by a weapon that pierced through his helmet and went through his skull, killing him instantly.
Man,
However, after his death, many of the Mandalorians over time lost their way and became divided, and there were splinter factions throughout history known as the Preservers that tried to keep Canderous' legacy intact. Now for our favourite assassin.
HK-47.
After the events of KOTOR 1, Revan wiped HK-47's memory core and left him with Bastila, who in turn left HK-47 with the Jedi Council in an attempt to calm him. But this didn't go very well, and when he probed Bastila about Revan's whereabouts, she refused to tell him, so he left and decided to go and find Revan himself.
Oh, really?
But this didn't go very well, and HK-47 was severely damaged at some point during his search, and some of his parts were scattered across the galaxy. However, T3M4 managed to recover most of what was left and stored him on the Ebon Hawk, where he was eventually found by the Jedi Exile. After KOTOR 2, it was revealed that it was his programming that was compelling him to find Revan all the time, and so he left Mitra Surik and went again on a hunt for his original master. He then spent the next 300 years searching, and funnily enough, it was Revan that actually found
That's like 300
him
years.
when he was freed from his prison, and he put him in control of an ancient Rakatan weapon known as the Foundry to build an army of war droids. However, just before HK arrived at the Foundry, he was captured by an operative known as the Shroud, who had actually copied HK's memory core and had a number of copies of the assassin droid built. The original HK wasn't aware of this, but he was eventually destroyed on the Foundry by the Sith Empire, who took his remains and reconstructed and reprogrammed him to serve Darth Malgus. Unfortunately though, he wasn't fully ready, but he was activated to repel a Republic strike force and was once again destroyed. But despite the fact that the original was destroyed, there were a number of Shroud HK-47 copies that still existed, and one of these copies was actually acquired by Revan after he went insane, and he was used to defend a Sith artifact known as the Temple of Sacrifice on Yavin 4, so that Revan could commit genocide and reawaken the Sith Emperor. Again though, he was destroyed, this time by a coalition of some of the most powerful Empire and Republic forces, and this would be the last time he ever interacted with Revan. Another copy of HK-47...
Bro, this brother's shadow clone. I swear to God. I'm thinking, oh, okay, the number of this brother. Nah, this brother just had multiple shadow clones. Like...
on Republic Hammerhead cruiser for thousands of years, and he was actually reawakened by the Separatists, and then went on to try and build an army of assassin droids to take over the galaxy, but this failed miserably. Now we have reached T3M4. His fate is the most heartbreaking of all of the companions.
I'm assuming he just
in my
got
opinion.
broken or something.
T3 was undyingly loyal to Revan, and after KOTOR 1, when they travelled to Nathema to learn about the Sith, Revan was ultimately captured, and T3 was forced to stay on the planet alone for years to rebuild the Ebon Hawk with scraps. He then of course returns to known space and finds the Exile. Yeah. After the events of KOTOR 2, he follows the Exile back to Nathema.
Also, another thing I want to say that's interesting about the story, because in KOTOR 2, you have to pass a lot of like speech checks and like, you know what I'm saying, a lot of like dialogue checks to even find out lots of this information. And I know like some of this information is also in like novels and stuff like that, but like to even get to the point where you understand it fully, the story of KOTOR 2, you gotta go through a lot, you know what I'm saying? That's why I love games like this, you know what I'm saying? That's why I love, like, you know what I'm saying? This is my type of vibe, you know what I'm saying?
To try and discover where the Sith took Revan, and they learn that he was taken to the Sith capital of Droman Kars, and he, alongside Mitra and a Sith traitor called Scourge, broke Revan out of prison where he was being held by one of the Sith Dark Council called Darth Nihilus. They then pushed on and decided to go and attempt to kill the Sith Emperor, and as Revan was engaged in battle with him, the Jedi was being overwhelmed. And so T3M4 charged the Sith Emperor and set him alight using his flamethrower, which completely broke the Emperor's focus and hold on Revan, which essentially saved Revan's life. But then the Sith Emperor used the Force and obliterated T3 into tiny fragments, and Revan and Mitra were defeated regardless.
Unlucky.
Now we're going to move on
Unlucky,
to the
my guy.
KOTOR 2 companion.
Unlucky, my guy. Unlucky. No, but he held it down. T3 held it down, you know what I'm saying? But he set my light. You know what I'm saying? He's a real G, fam. He's a real guy.
Unlike the companions of KOTOR 1, the companions of KOTOR 2
it's
all
kind of
have
more
very
obvious.
similar fates because all of them went on to rebuild the Jedi Order and they became founding Jedi. But they do have certain differences, so let's delve in. So as a quick overview for the Jedi Exile,
Packed.
she travels into the unknown
She got
regions
packed.
of T3M4 and follows in Revan's
You know what I'm saying?
footsteps
The Emperor was
to
smoking
the
that-
planet known
that-
as Nathema,
you know what I'm saying,
where
that
she
exile
finds out
pack,
that
you know
Revan
what I'm
was
saying?
captured by a Sith Lord called Darth Nihilus and taken to the Sith capital of Dromund Kaas. Mitra travels to this planet and discovers a Sith Lord known as Scourge who wants to help her break Revan free, as he had become somewhat acquainted with Revan over the years. They of course do break Revan free and he kills Darth Nihilus, and then they decide their best option is to attack the Sith Citadel and take out the Emperor. There is a battle to get into the throne room, and when they do, all three of them are standing in front of the Emperor, and Scourge has a vision of the future that shows a Jedi that isn't either Revan or Mitra as the one who would be victorious over the Emperor. So in an attempt to ensure that this future comes true, he steps to the side and kills Mitra by stabbing her in the back so he can prove his loyalty to the Emperor and become his right-hand man, and then Revan is captured and Mitra becomes a ghost. However, the Force
he's
Ghost
a
of Mitra
snake,
stays
fam.
alongside Revan in the Maelstrom prison for 300 years to keep him somewhat sane,
What a
and then she
snake.
reaches out to the Jedi Order of the Old Republic and assists them in freeing him. Let's start this with Kreia. Now,
Packed.
while you would assume that Kreia's
Packed.
story was finished after the events of KOTOR 2 because she dies, one of the quest lines in the Old Republic features
wow.
a character known as the Entity. The description of this character matches Kreia in that she was a centuries-old Sith Lord who had the ability to see the future and almost destroyed the Jedi. And while this character is not directly said to be Kreia, there are many hints towards it.
You know,
Writing the game, Drew
nigga, I need some research on this. I didn't know nothing about this. So.
Karpashan, who didn't directly work on this quest
But
line,
I've never
but
heard
worked
of the
with those
Entity.
who did, was under the impression that this character was supposed to be Kreia. But I want to say that whoever wrote this character and intended it to be Kreia needs an absolute slap round the face because it's the biggest disservice to a character I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, I'm
This
surprised.
entity was in love with the Emperor and essentially did everything that she did to
What?
get his attention. So it is
What?
absolute nonsense if this is Kreia.
That's not Kreia. No. That's not Kreia, because that had nothing to do with what Kreia was after. Kreia was after in Knights of the Old Republic to destroy the Force. And see, I'm nerding out again. The reason why she wanted to destroy the Force was because she hated it. That was it. That was it. That's the reason why she walked both lines of Jedi and Sith, because she walked the Jedi path, didn't agree with it, then walked the Sith path, and they betrayed her. So she kind of was just like, yo, like, if I can't even control like what's going on in my life because everything's controlled by the Force, she wants it destroyed. She hated the idea of being controlled by a higher being. So what do you mean she was in love? Man,
Shame on the writers. Aten's fate is ambiguous. Not much is known about it
I'm
at
assuming he
all,
got
but we
packed.
do know that he became an integral member in the founding of the new Jedi Council and became a Jedi Master. Visas Ma also went on to become a founding member of the new Jedi Council and played an influential role in its reconstruction.
interesting.
It was also claimed that she returned to KOTOR, her homeworld, which was destroyed by Nihilus, and finally learned to come to terms with what had happened. Now, the Disciple went on to become one of the Jedi...
yeah, 'cause I forgot who Handmaiden, because Handmaiden is not even well, I think she's canon, but she's not canon in terms of she doesn't go with, like, you know what I'm saying, like this. It's hard to explain. If you guys obviously don't know it, then you don't know. But like, basically, if you choose the male or female in KOTOR 2, then you either get to choose to play as you either get to choose the companion. Well, not choose, but you get the companion, either the disciple. If you're female, you get the disciple. If you're male, you get Handmaiden. And I forgot Handmaiden is not even canon like that. But
Order's greatest known historians, and this is referenced in a tiny little description in the Old Republic.
Oh.
He actually created a holocron, which he had hidden in a Jedi archive in an asteroid field known as the Kron Drift, and this holocron was found by the Jedi Order in the Old Republic. When the Lost Jedi are referenced, he is always kind of referenced as the main Jedi of the group, So we can only
Oh.
assume that he went on to become the Jedi Grand Master, but this isn't confirmed in any media. That's just my assumption.
Okay.
As for Beodor, he's a highly contested topic. The original intent was to have Beodor die while he was helping HK with the HK manufacturing plant on Telos. However, this
I'm
was cut
confused.
from the original game, and so
Okay.
his inevitable fate in that regard was also cut from the canon story. This is also further backed up.
This actually makes sense though, because again, if you guys haven't played it, the game technically is unfinished. Like, it's finished, yeah. You can get to the ending, but there's a lot of stuff that's cut out. And when you get to the ending, it does feel a little bit rushed, and it's because it just wasn't finished the way it was. But it's still a very impressive game.
By the fact that Kreia refuses to elaborate on his future, which is kind of left open-ended. However, external source media suggests that every Force-sensitive companion that can be turned into a Jedi did indeed become a Jedi and went on to rebuild the Order. So we can only attribute this to Beodor as well, and
Yeah, so
assume
he
that he
must
survived
survive,
and
yeah.
went on to become a founding member of the new Jedi Council. Mira, much like the rest of the Jedi
I ain't gonna lie, I don't
companions,
remember
went
this
on
character.
to re-establish the Jedi Council, and she left bounty hunting behind. It was also suggested that she died many years later on a planet that was forgotten. What this means, I don't know. However, she dies, saving the lives of others, and that she does this without regret. As for Brianna, you guessed
I'm
it, she
surprised.
became an influential member of the new Jedi Order.
Oh, really?
And one of its founders. It
Wait,
was said
what?
that her
Wait, I'm confused. Yeah, because this is handmaiden. I'm confused. 'Cause I didn't think she was canon. Okay.
experience with Atris would actually lead her down the path of a historian, and she chose to let go of her Ichani battle prowess to become a teacher. Speaking of
That's actually
Atris,
surprising,
she
okay.
decided that she needed to suffer the same fate as the Jedi exile, and that she needed to let go of being a Jedi, and to be exiled and to rediscover herself as a human. After the events of KOTOR 2, she was held captive in her sanctum on Telos, and she waited there until she could be judged by Mikal and the new Jedi Council. Again, this kind of indicates that Mikal was the leader, so perhaps the Grand Master. But anyway, we can only assume that this was the eventual case and that Atris was exiled and simply disappeared to history. As for Goto, he was destroyed on Malachor, however his photoreceptor somehow survived, and it was treated as a treasured relic several hundred years later.
That's a became
And
a
the same
trophy.
goes for Hanha, he was killed by Mira on Malachor in the canon story. And last but not least, Beodor's remote, who was the most important character in the whole game, was destroyed on Malachor.
Nah, there.
Whoa, this video was a lot longer than I intended it to be. I thought this would be a pretty quick one, but alas, that wasn't the case.
it?
Regardless, if you did go on to enjoy it, don't forget
Yeah,
to hit
that's
the
it. You know what I'm saying? Go. I'm gonna obviously. Like, I don't really remember what this guy's channel's called, so you know what I'm saying. Go subscribe to him. I'm gonna link his channel down in the description below. His video. I hope you guys enjoyed. I really hope you guys enjoyed, because you know what I'm saying. I don't know many people that have played Knights of the Old Republic. You know what I'm saying. So obviously, if there are any new people out there watching, you know what I'm saying, make sure to leave a like, and also make sure that, you know what I'm saying, to tell me, you know what I'm saying, because I played this when I was a kid, innit? Obviously, I played it, I think, fairly recently. I'd say when I was 17. You know what I'm saying? But other than that, was it 17? I don't know. I know I've played it recently, though. But yeah, this is one of my favorite games. I ain't even gonna lie. Game series, anyways, even though it's only 2 games. You know what I'm saying? But hope you guys enjoyed. You know what I'm saying? There's gonna be videos in the usual spots, so make sure you go click those. Thank you guys for thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.